Hello guys, this is Manvendra Tripathi and we are going to cover few topics from Ruby on Rails, and it is going to be a demo session in Ruby on Rails, and we'll try to understand why people are choosing Ruby on Rails for their web development. Why not PHP and Python? We'll do the comparison and we'll try to understand. We'll try to figure it out what's the specialty or what's the benefit we're having in this web development framework. So in Ruby on Rails, we are having two terms. The first is Ruby and the second term is Rails. And Ruby is a object oriented programming language. So if you guys are from programming background, you'll be able to understand what is this ops concept. If you are not, I'll make you very clear with this concept. So ops concept is a standard which a lot of programming languages follow, and they have been derived from this ops concept only, and it is a standard which will give you uh, the way you can do a good coding, a way where you can maintain your code in just with few lines of code, no need to write much things. And the best thing in Ruby, Ruby support gems. So in other programming languages, if you're going, you'll be having some packages which you can get from the internet and you can start using it. So those packages we known as a gem in this Ruby. So first we'll see what is Ruby here. So since we are going to learn Ruby on Rails, which is ROR in short form, you can call ROR. So Ruby is a object oriented programming language, which you can call it as a OOPS language. Whereas Rails is a web development framework, and this framework is completely written in Ruby programming language. So if you are willing to explore your Rails technology, then definitely you have to learn Ruby first. Then only you can enhance the Rails architecture according to you. So here there's a one keyword which I have written as a OOPS language. We'll try to figure it out, like what is this OOPS concept, which is object oriented programming language. So it's like, as I've told you, it's a standard and it's having some rules which you have to follow while you're going to write a piece of code in Ruby. And abstraction. So we're having this four: encapsulation, polymorphism, inheritance, and abstraction. So this is a properties of OOPS language, not a properties of Ruby. So here we are having C++ and Java. Those languages are also OOPS language. So they also follow the same standard. So whatever you're going to learn in these four, that will get applicable in all the programming languages which following OOPS concept. So what is the meaning of this encapsulation? Like binding and data together. So sorry, binding data and method together to get the solution. Data and method together. So this is known as polymorphism, and then in this that is known as encapsulation. And here polymorphism means where your one operator can behave or can generate different outputs based on the input nature. So basically, your input nature will be data type of that input, and inheritance means inheriting the properties of one class into another class. I'll come up with the examples. I'm just writing this content so you can make yourself familiar with this. And then abstraction is hiding the piece of code from the end users, known as abstraction. So to understand all these features, first we have to know little about Ruby. So let's write a very simple program in Ruby, uh, which will help you to print some string, which I'm going to pass to that statement. So in Ruby, we are having puts as a printing statement, and if you are going to pass anything with the puts, it will help you to get that value as printed. So here, if I'm going to write puts hello Ruby, so now if I'm going to copy this, so now where to execute it? Okay, so your Ruby is a interpreted language. So since it's an interpreted language, you are going to have a console for this. Since Java and C++, it's not an interpreted language. We'll talk more about it. So here we are having one console. If you are coming your terminal and just terminal, you type IRB, which is interactive Ruby cell. So once you have typed this and hit enter, it will open an interactive Ruby cell here, and here you can write the code which Ruby will understand. So now here, if I'm going to write it, you can see your statement will be get printed, which is very basic program in Ruby. Now here, let's write a method, and using that method, we'll try to print some value. It's very simple to write a function in Ruby. We are having this def keyword, which is a keyword, and after your def keyword, you have to give your method name. There is some set of rules for defining your method name, and once you have given your method name, close the function. So end is an enclosure for each and everything, if not just for the def. For each and every keyword, we'll have one enclosure, which is end, ending. And here you can write your logic. So in our case, the logic is going to be like puts welcome to Ruby. So this is a first function, like, and writing a function in Ruby, it's very simple. Only this syntax we're having. Just copy it and paste it in your IRB. So since your function is ready to execute this you have to call this method name. So in our case, like, the method name itself is method underscore name. So if you're going to call it, you will be able to see the logic to get executed what we have written inside the function. So the output is here, welcome to Ruby. Okay, so is it a way, only single way to execute the function of Ruby? No, it's not a single way. It's a developer specific platform. If you are willing to make it a a specific platform, so what you do, like, you create one file. So here I'm going to create one file here, and I will save this file on my desktop. So let's choose the desktop as a location, and then here you can save the file. First program, so I'm going to write as a fp first program .rb. So whatever piece of code related to Ruby, if you're going to save, you have to take care, like, your extension of the file must be rb. Okay, which stands for Ruby. So save it here and paste the piece of code whatever you have written in your program. So I'll just copy this and I'll paste it here. I've saved it. Now I'll execute this. So come to your terminal, go to the location where you have saved your file. Here's a file is present, and you can use Ruby keyword to execute that file. So file is fp.rb. If you're going to execute, you won't get anything. the thing is getting printed. Why? Because you are having just function, it is just ready, you're not calling it to get execute. To call it, you take the method name here and paste it here, just down to the definition, method definition, and once again you execute the same piece of code, you'll be able to see the output from the file. So this is a second way, we'll talk more about it. Fine, I'll take one very small example, and I'll show you like how easy it is to write a piece of code in Ruby. So the question is like you write a function, and that function will take all the elements from box, and it will add all the elements, and then it will return sum of that box. So I'm having one box which is going to have some element 1 2 3 4 5 6. So now you have to add all these elements from this box, and then you have to return the sum. So very simple. I can make a function here, sum of array, and let me write the logic which will. So I'll pass that array here, like what the box I'm having. So this box I will pass as a array to this as an argument to this function. So pass it here box, and then here what you can do, like you can take a variable and give a initial value 0 to this variable, and then since the element is present inside a box, so what I'll do, like I'll loop to the box. So let's loop it, box dot each do I is an object. It may look little tricky, but I'm just trying to show you like how easy it is to write a piece of code in Ruby. So here what you can do, like you use additional increment operator with the sum. So what will happen, like each and every time the value of that box will be get added to the sum, and at last I'm going to return sum, which will give you the sum of this box. So now if I'm going to copy and paste it in the IRB here, and now let me call this function. So now I'm getting 21. If I'm going to change the value of the box, let's have one more element 7, and again you call the same function, now it's 28. So the function is working properly, it's fine. But in Ruby we are having some inbuilt functions. There is not only one function, there is a lot of function which may save your time. So rather writing this logic and giving time to thinking like how you can design this piece of code, you can use some predefined function in Ruby. So I'll just take an example of one predefined function, and that predefined function is inject. So with the box or with array, you can use inject function, and you can say this inject function to add all the elements of the box. So now if you're going to call this, it will return the same thing what your logic was implementing or returning. So either you write your own logic, or you get a use of inbuilt functions, which what we are having in Ruby. So this is a specialty in Ruby, like it will save a lot of time, and if you're saving time, it means you can go like you can work fast, you can implement anything fastly compared to other programming language. So this is one example. So and this is a way you can define your piece of code in Ruby inside a function, and you can execute that function to get the appropriate result, and this is known as encapsulation. So now polymorphism. So like I'll paste it this piece of code here. So okay, see. So polymorphism, so there is a plus operator which stands for multiple things. If you're going to give 1 plus 1, so your result will be 2, because now this plus operator will recognize that whatever you have given in the right hand side and the left hand side of this operator, that is a integer, and integer can be added, so you will get 2. But with the same plus operator, if you're going to give something in this string box which is like a double code, and if you're going to give a, if we're going to define like this, what it means here, based on the input nature. Now in the second example, the nature of this inputs is a string, whereas in the first example it was integer. So now here the plus operator will not work as a additional operator. Here it will work as a concatenational operator, and it will concatenate the values, and the result will be 1 1 inside a box. So this is known as polymorphism. And inheriting the properties of one class into another class. So to understand this, we have to learn like how to define a classes in Ruby. So let's try to understand that, which is very easy, and it is just a part of demo. So we're having very less time, where I can't give a more declaration or like a more express way to understand this. So since we'll be doing it once, we'll continue with the classes. So to define a class in Ruby, just you have to use this class keyword and then give a name to this class, and make sure that first letter of that class will be in caps. So if you are going to take class name as a Gmail, so G will be in caps. Close it with the end keyword, and here inside the class you can write your objects. So I'm going to write a function here, def hello, and close this. And inside this function only you are supposed to write your logic. So I'm going to have two variable here, which is a equal to 3 and then b equal to 4, and then c equal to e plus b. If I'm going to execute this function hello, so now directly I cannot execute. So if I'm copying this function and going to the IRB, so I'll just clear this IRB. I'll open a fresh IRB here, and if I'm going to paste this code, and if I'm trying to call the hello function, it will throw error, because now your hello function is packed inside a box, and that box is Gmail. So to call that function, you have to open the box first. So how you can open a box? Create an object. This is a way to open your box. So new method is a method which works like a constructor, and it will help you to initialize your class. Once you have initialized your class, so give all that property to a variable called G, and now ask this G variable to call the function which you have written inside the Gmail, because G knows the address of Gmail. It will go to the class, it will open the class, and then it will see whether the hello function is present or not. If it is present, you'll be able to get the result. So now here it is executing this logic, and you are able to get the last statement as a return of this function. So now let's define one more class here, AB, and close this class. Don't write anything. Now create an object of this AB class, which is B, AB.new. So B is the object of this AB class, and now with the object of B, you try to call hello function. So since it will give an error, because a hello function is not a part of AB class, it is a part of Gmail class. But still, I want to execute that hello with the help of AB class object. So what you can do, you can inherit the properties of Gmail into AB. So now Gmail here will be your base class, whereas AB will be derived class, which is going to derive from AB class. In this case, this will be possible, and you will be able to execute the hello with the object of AB class, because first that the B object will come to AB class, and it will try to get the hello function which is not present here. Then it will go to the super class, which is Gmail, and if the function is present there, you'll be able to get the result. So this is an example of your inheritance. I'll just copy it and paste it here. Okay, so this is the inheritance. Abstraction, it is just a property where you have to hide the piece of code from the end user. So what it means, like if you're going to use Facebook or Gmail, so you're just going to interact with the GUI, graphical user interface. You are not going to see the code, how the Gmail is working and in which language it has been written. So you also have to develop your framework in a such a way that end users should not be able to see your backend code. Okay. So now here, like since I have told you a lot of things about this Ruby, now I'll conclude this Ruby, why people are willing to come to this Ruby. The first thing is like open source. Ruby is an open source language. You can get everything from the internet. The second part is having a lot of inbuilt functions which you can utilize to save your time. Codes are very easy to maintain. Can be used as a scripting language. So scripting language means inside a class you can have a lot of method, lot of classes inside a single file. Those is known as a scripting language. And whatever scripting languages we are having, all uh, languages will have their interpreter where you can directly go and execute the piece of code. So if since it is a scripting language, so it can be used to implement or to develop internet protocol. Can be used to create cluster. So these are the key features in Ruby, and because of these features, people are coming to this Ruby. Now Rails. So Rails is a web development framework written in Ruby programming language, and this is also like open source. And basically, this architecture runs on two things. The first thing is MVC, which is model view controller pattern, and the second architecture is ORM, object relational mapping, which gives very simple technique to integrate with anything. And your Rails framework can generate the outputs in various format. The format maybe HTML, XML, JSON. Okay, so using Rails, you can generate this kind of outputs in very easy way, like just with few changes. If you want, you can instruct your page to get the values in all the formats. There's a way to do it, very simple. And Rails comes with the default database, which is SQLite 3, and one default Fabric server, which is application server, Fabric. So these things makes your Rails development very fast in execution, or in terms of rendering the template to the browser. So in Rails, what will happen, like when you are going to release a request from the browser, so that request will come to the controller. So so controller is a C in your MVC architecture, and then this request from the controller will go to the views. Views will generate a template in this page, and that page will be given to the browser as a response based on command. If you need anything from database, so before sending the request to the views, the controller will send that request to the model, and model only having the accessibility or permissions to talk with database. So this model will send that request to the database. It will get the result from database, and then it will give that response back to the controller. Now controller will go to the views with the data, and then view will generate the template, and it will put all the data inside the template, and then it will be get given to the browser. So this model interaction is going to be happen based on demand. And remember, only controller can make a request to model to get the data from database. Directly controller and views are not able to access the database. So everything will be go through that, and this is known as MVC, model view controller pattern. We'll talk more about it. I just given a roughly example so you can understand how this works. And this will be our course content during the course. It's a 40 hours program, and there you will be able to learn first in Ruby. So there is a complete 9 session for Ruby, and then 19 session for Rails, where we'll be creating a e-commerce website, and that e-commerce website will have like a payment integration, social sites integration, buyer and seller functionality, image upload functionality, and like a cropping functionality where you can crop your image in multiple sizes. So all this you will learn in this course. So it will be like complete 29 classes, which I've told you, which includes 9 for Ruby, and then 20 for your Rails framework. So this was an introduction about Ruby on Rails. Thank you.